Welcome back to another episode of Plant-Based Dads. I'm Joey. We are a mostly whole food, vegan cooking channel. We do some product reviews. Sometimes there's some episodes with Tim, baking with Tim, sprouting with Tim, fermenting with Tim. If you like what you hear so far, please hit that like button. Show us some love. And please think about subscribing and becoming part of the Plant-Based Dads family. If you like getting these videos, you can get them before everyone else. Our Patreon members get these videos 1 to 2 days early, usually on Saturday. The videos come out on Monday. Our Patreon members are our monthly supporters that help us put the show together and bring the plant-based message out to the masses. If you've ever watched the show and thought, I would love to help, how can I help? That's how you can do it. The information for Patreon is right below this video. If you want to look that up and join us, we'd love to have you. You can also make a one-time donation too. That information will be below the video too. Our Facebook group, Plant-Based Dads Starch Solution Enthusiasts, is about 8,000 strong right now, and it's not even a year old. Currently, we're in the middle of our 21-day starch solution challenge, where you can do your half starch, half non-starch play, 50-50, or 25-75, or 75-25 if you want to do it that way, as long as you're doing starches and non-starches. And we do that for 21 days to encourage people to do the starch solution and stay on track. We're going to be starting our Mary's Mini Challenge next Monday, the 28th. That's a little bit different, and I have a video right here on how the Mary's Mini works. That'll go on for about 7 days into the new month of July. If you haven't checked out the video I did on my sister's channel, Mediterranean Maiden, check that out. There'll be a link below this video in the description for that channel. We did a video called the Overnight Oats 5 Ways, and it was just my sister and April and I, we always have a lot of fun together, and this time was no exception, and it was all out comedy. All right, so today's video, I'm going to talk about what happened when my mother visited last month. My mom came to visit, and my mom is 75. She lives in Tampa, Florida, which is where I moved here from. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, but I lived in Tampa for 14 years, which is how she got there. And we had a talk, right? The very first full date that she was here after she settled in, we started talking about food. And I'm going to just tell you right now, I am not a medical professional, right? So before I tell you some of these things we did, please don't take this as I'm telling you what to do and I'm an expert in these things. I am not. I've said this before. I'm just a fat guy that likes to eat plants. That's it. That's who I am. And it doesn't get any better than that. So take all of this with a grain of salt, okay? So my mom's here, and I said, Mom, tell me about some of the stuff you have going on. Now, I know she has diverticulitis. She told me I've got diverticulitis, and I said, I've known that for years, but I don't understand what that means and how that affects you. And she's like, well, this is what she told me, and I don't know. It's little holes in the digestive tract, maybe in the colon or something, and seeds get caught in there, and it's just really painful. And depending on how severe it is, there are times when she can't get out of bed for 4 days, right, because of something she ate. So, I mean, it sounded horrible when she was explaining to me. And she's like, I'm in so much pain, and I just can't move. And then I have good days and bad days. And she goes, it's really bad. And I was like, I'm so sorry to hear that. And she goes, and then I've got high blood pressure. I said, well, tell me about the high blood pressure. And she's like, well, you know, I live in a very stressful environment. She lives with my brother and his girlfriend, and that whole situation is nothing pleasant. You know, she says that she doesn't put salt on anything, right? But she goes out for every meal. And, you know, I had read recently that the amount of salt we get, 75% of the salt we get, or 80% of it, isn't from the salt shaker. Like, when you have salt problems, it's almost never because you're doing this with the salt shaker. It's almost always because the majority of our salt comes from packaged food and restaurants, and that's where it comes from. And if you eat a lot of packaged food, or you eat at restaurants more than, you know, twice a week, right? If you eat every meal at restaurants, you're getting a lot of salt. Every time you drink a soda, you're getting salt. You know, every time you open a bag of chips, you're getting salt. So she explained that to me, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it sounds like we need to cut down your salt, right? So she's got diverticulitis, she's got high blood pressure, and then she's like, and I'm pre-diabetic. And I was like, you're pre-diabetic. So you're at the verge of getting diabetes, but you don't have it yet, which to me is like, bing, 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 we can stop it right here, right? So she's explaining this to me, and I'm like, okay, so Mom, what is diabetes? Now, I know what diabetes is, okay? Again, I'm not a doctor, this is just what I've read. I know that diabetes is a disease that you get when you have too much fat in your blood cells. That's what it is. You can get into the side effects where, because the fat's in your blood cells, the insulin can't open the blood cells to allow the blood sugars in. So now the blood sugars can't get in. So the blood sugars are floating around your body and they got to get rid of it. So that's why you're peeing a lot and all that. And that's why you have high blood sugar. So I understand all of that very well, right? But I said, Mom, what is diabetes? And she's like, well, it's when you have too much blood sugar. So you have to stop eating sugars and starches. I was like, okay, well, that's one opinion of it, right? So I just kind of took all that in, okay, the first day. And I didn't go into, well, here's what we're going to do. Now, while she was here, I cooked every meal at home. She ate whatever I cooked here, except for lunch. Lunch, she wanted to go out, and I thought lunch would be a perfect meal, soups and salads, right? Like perfect. So Lex was still in school, and she wanted to wait for Lex every day. She wanted her grandson to come with her. It's her only grandson, and he's in school at home all year. He didn't go to school this year. He did school from home the whole year. So at 2:30 when he was done, he came down, and he's like, okay, Grandma, let's go to lunch. So we all went to Panera Bread. I've never been to Panera Bread, so I don't know anything about Panera Bread, but that's where she wanted to go. It was one of her hometown. So we went, and I was pleasantly surprised. In fact, I have a video from the soup that I got right here, the 10 vegetable soup. Check that out. It's absolutely amazing. But let me tell you how I got to that. So we go to Panera Bread, and my mom's like, I'm going to get, half a sandwich and a soup. And I said, that sounds really good. I'm going to get like a salad, half a salad and a soup. So I like that they have these kind of choose half and half menu, right? Like you can pick 2 items, half of each, and that's your plate, right? So we do that, and my mom gets a creamy-based potato soup. She's like, oh, I love potatoes. And I'm like, okay, so that's all I needed to hear. I love potatoes. I immediately started forming like things in my head on some meals for her. I love potatoes. So she gets the cream of potato soup, which I'm sure is made with milk or heavy cream, right? And it shows the calories up there. I think a cup of that was like 190 calories. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but it was 100 and something, in the high hundreds and something. And I got the 10 vegetable soup, which is where I discovered that soup. And a cup of that was 60 calories. Now that soup is vegan, it says right on it. And I looked at the ingredients, and it's all like whole food plant-based, other than it has oil in it. And with 60 calories, it can't have much oil in it, but it is only a cup, right? So I'm getting the cup of the 10 vegetable soup, and I got a half a salad or something. And I just asked for some lemon and poured that on it. So we're sitting down, and my mom's like, this soup is really good. And I said, Mom, listen, this soup I'm eating is a much better option when you go to Panera Bread. And I explained to her that this is much less calories. It doesn't have the milk in it. It doesn't have the cream. And I said, I want you to try this. Like, if you don't like it, don't eat it, get your soup next time. But I just want you to know this might be an option for you. So she tried that, and she was like, wow, this is really good. I love the chickpeas in it. I'm like, oh, you like chickpeas? And she's like, oh, I love chickpeas. Bing, 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 bing. Another thing going off in my head. Okay, all of a sudden I've got a bunch more meals I can make her, right? So we're having the soup, and she tries my soup, and she likes it, and she's eating her half a turkey sandwich or whatever. And I'm eating my soup, and I just got soup salad, and I thought it went really well. So when we came home, I started talking with her, as I was making dinner. I said, Mom, tell me about some of the things you like. And she's like, well, I always used to make your father this, and then they're divorced. And then your brother, I said, Mom, tell me what you like. What do you like to eat? I mean, I don't know anything about what you like. I never have. You've always been cooking for someone else. So she goes, when I was a little girl, and she never talks about her mother or any of her growing up stories, and she just kind of let all this out. When I was a little girl, my mom used to make vegetable soup from scratch. And in her mother's era, my grandmother, they didn't have convenience foods, right? They made everything from scratch. And the women in her family lived to be like 95, 100, 105. Like, they live a long time. Mostly because they didn't eat convenience foods or processed food. She's like, my mom used to make lentil vegetable soup, and I remember her cutting all the vegetables and preparing the lentils, and it would cook, and it was so good, and I loved it. I was like, well, you like lentils? You like soup? You like vegetables? This is amazing. She goes, yes. And then my mom used to make the best sweet potatoes, and she would make beans, and I loved all her stuff. My mom cooked nothing but vegetables. And I was like, that's fantastic. She goes, well, my father liked meat, so, we would have meat, but my mom really liked to make stuff from scratch. And and her mom was always thin. Like, she was never overweight or anything. Like the father was, right? My grandfather was, but not my grandmother, right? So when I started listening to this, it was apparent that my mother loved vegetables. yet she wasn't eating them. So I said, Mom, tell me why you don't order potatoes normally. And she's like, well, my doctor said because of my diabetes, I need to stay away from potatoes, stay away from starches, and stay away from fruit because it's too high in sugar. Okay, Mom. Your doctor's telling you to stay away from potatoes, the starch that your body needs for energy. Your doctor's telling you to stay away from fruit, a whole lot of fiber now we're not getting. Did he tell you what you should eat? Well, he said I could have fish. I said, your doctor said you should eat fish. You should give up potatoes and fruit, but you should eat fish. She said, yeah. I said, what kind of fish do you think you should be eating? She goes, well, I think I should be eating salmon. Salmon is not something I could eat. It's not that bad. And I was like, salmon? You know salmon's full of fat, right? Like it's a fatty fish. And she goes, well, he told me to eat more fish. I said, okay, Mom. So listen, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do here. The very first thing I did was let's take your numbers, because when she first got here, she started like doing blood sugar numbers like every day. And she would look at her blood sugar, and depending on what she ate, where her blood sugar was, and that would decide if she could eat something again. I mean, it was crazy. Like, is that how she wants to live? I mean, I know diabetic people live that way, but she's not diabetic yet. She's pre-diabetic. Is she just preparing herself for what's to come? Like, she's already given up. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to control my food based on my blood sugar. So, she was doing that, and I said, Mom, I want your blood sugar number right now. I don't know anything about blood sugar numbers, but I'm about to learn. And I said, Mom, I want you to take your blood pressure right now, and I want to know what it is. It was the very first day of the trip. I want to know what it is, because I need a baseline. I need something to compare this to. So when we get to the end of the 2 weeks, I need to be able to see if I've hurt her or helped her, right? So that's what she does. She takes a very first blood sugar number, and her blood sugar is 160. And again, I don't know what that means, but all I know is if that's what she's doing, then that number is probably not good, so we have to make it lower. The next thing I said is, Mom, take your blood pressure. Let's figure that. I mean, I don't know. Again, I've never had a high blood pressure. So her blood pressure was 149. So again, I don't know what these numbers mean, but I'm writing them down, 160 and 149. And to me, that's where it's starting, right? I'm going to change it, and I'm going to show her how to do it. So starting the next day, we all wake up. My mom gets up early. She's sitting on the couch, like most of the vacation of 2 weeks, looking at the hummingbird feeder and the birds and going, oh, there's 3 hummingbirds. Oh, there's birds in the water fountain. And she was fascinated by that. We started the day off and said, Mom, I'm going to make you oats. Have you ever had oats before? And she's like, maybe, I don't know. So I make some oats, and I throw some banana in there and some fruit, and we do our oats. So she really loved that, right? Throughout the week, I've made her other things. We come to find out that she loves bananas, strawberries. She loves fruits, right? So some days, all she wanted was some sliced up bananas and some strawberries in a bowl. And that's what she wanted. So I'm like, Mom, that's a really good breakfast. So I would make her that, right? Otherwise, I just try and put fruit into everything. Another thing she loved, I made her a smoothie with the bananas and strawberries. I threw some dragon fruit in. I threw some mango, some pineapple, just kind of a fruit smoothie, and threw some greens in, right? She loved that. She started asking for that every day, right? The smoothie was like her favorite meal. So, now, Panera Bread, we went to every single day for lunch. And the second day we went there, Mom got my soup. She's like, I'm going to try the vegetable soup. I said, great. And she ate that soup the rest of the time she was here. Every day we went to Panera, she ate that soup for the rest of the time. And she absolutely loved it. So now she's stopped eating the creamy soup, right, with the milk and the cheese in it, and she started eating the vegetable soup. Now for dinners, I'm making tacos, right, with some jackfruit in it or some refried beans, and we're having sweet potatoes, really nice caramelized sweet potatoes, because she said she loved potatoes. We're having baked potatoes, and I've got a creamy vegan cheese sauce I put on it, recipe right here with the cauliflower cheese sauce, and broccoli, and I made a deal with it. Listen, anything you don't want to eat when you're here, don't eat it, right? It's absolutely okay. I'm not going to be offended. But she ate everything that I made. So on the second day, I felt like we needed to start talking about her illnesses. So the very first thing I talked about was diabetes. I said, Mom, you told me that diabetes was a disease where there's too much sugar in the blood. And she goes, yes. I said, Mom, what you want to avoid when you have diabetes is fat. So I said, Mom, I want you to start dropping the fat. I said, the more fiber you eat, the less fat you get. So I started explaining fiber to her, right? And she didn't understand the concept. I said, Mom, fiber comes from plants. There's no fiber in animal products, so you have to eat plants to get fiber. And fiber is what keeps you healthy. And I tried to explain to her all these things that people are dying of, comorbidities, heart disease, all of that, that can all be tied back to fiber. We lose 600,000 people a year to heart disease. Much of it can be traced back to your diet and fiber. So I explained, when you have good fiber intake, you have good digestion. So she's like, all right, I understand. So the first thing we tackled was the diabetes. I said, I want you to stay away from fat. I want you to avoid fat when you're here, and I want you to have a lot more fiber, which we've started doing. She goes, okay, let's do that. I said, great. Then I jumped into diverticulitis. I said, Mom, you got me on this one. I don't know anything about diverticulitis. Let's ask Dr. Google. So we got on Dr. Google and looked up diverticulitis. It was a really interesting disease. The photos were absolutely horrible. And all of the things to talk about, the pain that people were in, was really scary. I couldn't imagine my mother in this pain. And she's like, yeah, that's what I get. Yeah, that's what I have. And then I looked at how you can control diverticulitis. What can you do that stops the pains, that keeps you out of that cycle? And you know what it was? You know what you need to stop diverticulitis in its tracks? Fiber. So again, I see this and I'm like, all right, Mom, here's your ticket right here. Again, let's talk about Mr. Fiber, right? Not only is fiber good for digestion, right? It's going to stop diverticulitis in its tracks. If you get enough fiber and you're like pooping this stuff out, right? You're good, right? It's just going right through you and you're not going to get the pain. So she's like, I'll do anything not to get that pain. And I was like, great. So we're going to continue to eat what we're eating here. Vegetables, starches, and non-starch. She's like, okay, great, let's do that. So then that left me with one more thing we needed to talk about, which was blood pressure. So I said, Mom, your blood pressure, 149, I'm guessing that's a high number. She goes, that's a high number. I said, okay. The blood pressure thing, that's not so hard to manage, especially here on vacation where she's away from any stress and watching the birds all day. Like, that's going to come down. And I said, Mom, we need to avoid salt in restaurants and packaged food. I said, we're going to Panera every day, but we're just getting a cup of soup. So you should be fine. And I said, we're not really eating packaged food. There's no packaged food in my house. We're not eating that. So I said, I want you to just be aware of your numbers with blood pressure. I want you to just understand, like, whenever you eat anything outside of this house, you have to be aware of if there's salt in it or not. So when you grab a package of chips or something like that, you have to understand that you're contributing to this with that package of chips. So you have to make a choice, like, do you want this or not? And then when you go to the restaurant, same thing. Are you going to get a big bowl of something with salt in it, or are you going to get something without salt in it? So she's like, okay, I understand that. She goes, I thought, it was from putting salt on my food, because she's like, I don't put salt on my food. I said, no, none of us put salt on our food. We don't shake salt on anything. But, putting a pinch of salt in a recipe for a big pot of soup is one thing. Putting a bunch of salt, like the chips at Chipotle or something like that, like, that's just too much, right? Like, that's where it's coming from. So she's like, okay, we'll watch the salt. I said, perfect. So now she's on blood pressure medication, so we have to be very careful. We can't lower her blood pressure to the point where then the medication is lowering and she has some dire side effects. So we were kind of watching that. So this went on all week. And let me tell you what happened, right? At the very last day, oh, by the way, my mom, when she first got here, I had her step on the scale also. And we got her weight, and I'm not going to go into what her weight is, but, it was one number. And she was like, okay, it was nothing dramatic or anything. All right, so we're at the end of the 2 weeks, and we take her numbers again, right? Now, we've been taking them the whole time, so it's not a surprise. Just for the point of if it's the last day she's here, I kind of wanted to kind of have a closure of all this, right? So we take her blood sugar with her prick of the finger thing, and it winds up being 120. Now, I don't know what a good blood sugar number is, again, because I don't know anything about diabetes, but, for a 75-year-old woman, she said that was a really good number. And she's like, my blood sugar's come down substantially. I'm like, that's fantastic, right? So it went from 160 to 120, right? In 2 weeks while she was here. Then we checked her blood pressure. And again, we knew it was going down because we checked it every day, right? And her blood pressure was 126. So that came down from 149. So that's a substantial drop also, right? All from eating starches and fruits and vegetables. Like, that's all she had, right? Okay, and that's not even true. When we went to Panera Bread, she never stopped eating her half a turkey sandwich. She just really wasn't finishing it after that. She would eat part of it. So she didn't even, take up a vegan diet. She ate vegan when she was in my house, but she didn't even convert to veganism or anything. She still ate her regular food here and there. The difference was she had a lot more fiber. And that's the other thing. She was like, halfway through the trip, she's like, I'm pooping a lot. I was like, are you okay? Are you burning your butthole? Like, do you have diarrhea? Like, is it? She's like, no, everything's fine. She's like, but I pooped twice today. I'm like, yeah, Mom, that's what you're supposed to do. That's kind of how it works. That's how you know you're getting enough fiber. Then we had her step on the scale. So she steps on the scale and looks at the number and goes, I think I've lost weight. And I go, let me find the number. I go, Mom, you lost 4 pounds. And she's like, how? She's like, I didn't even diet. And she's like, in fact, I've eaten more food now than I've eaten when I'm home. And I've lost 4 pounds? I said, Mom, it's because you're eating nutritionally dense food. You're not eating calorically dense food. She's like, that's amazing. And I was like, I know. And Mom, keep in mind, you're eating the food your doctor told you not to eat, right? You're eating the starches, you're eating the fruits. That's the stuff you're supposed to stay away from, right? She's like, yeah, what the hell is he telling me that I'm going to tell? I said, Mom, don't tell him anything. Don't get into an argument with a doctor. It's not an argument you can win. So my mom had an amazing trick, but there's one more thing I want to tell you. I almost killed my mom. And let me tell you what happened. While we were here, she was here for Mother's Day. So my sister April, right? She was like, oh, I wish I could be there for Mother's Day. And I was like, well, you can. Why don't you come out? And she was like, do you have room for me? I'm like, I totally have room for you, right? So my mom hasn't seen April since the last time we were all together, which was about 1.5 years ago. Now, my mom and me and April are really close. April and I are like this, right? And my mom and I are like this, and so is April and her. So we're all really close, right? And whenever we vacation, we kind of do things together and we include each other. So April came here and I did not tell my mom she was coming. And April and I had this idea, right, that we would surprise her and she would open the door and be like, oh, right? Well, I didn't take into consideration that my mother is 75 years old, right, and has high blood pressure. So we did this whole thing where, and the odd part is, the whole time my mom was here, the first week she was here, right, she kept saying, I wish April was here. She would have loved this. I wish April, and I wanted to say, well, she's going to be here. We're going to be doing this together next week, right? But I kept having to go, oh, I can't say that. Oh, I can't say that. So I just had to shut up the whole time and not say anything. And I felt horrible, right? So April gets here. She's like, the Eagle has landed. And I said, okay. And I texted Tim, said, package ready for pickup. And he's like, okay. It was all very covert, right? And he goes to pick April. And then I said, when you're at the gate to my community, text me you're at the gate so I can then start this whole thing with my mom where I could pretend to empty the dishwasher so I'm too busy to answer the door. Otherwise, why would I have my mom answer the door if I'm sitting on the couch with her, right? So she's like, I'm at the gate. I said, okay, sounds good. So then I walk over to the dishwasher and I pretend I'm emptying the dishwasher and we hear a knock at the door. I said, Mom, can you get that? One of Lex's friends, just get rid of them. She's like, okay. Now Tim's outside filming the whole thing, right? I'm going to show it right here. Now watch this. All right, so April's walking up to the door here, right? And she's all ready, and Tim's behind filming. Now the door's about to open. Now watch what my mother does. She like grabs her heart, right? And I thought, oh my God, watch. Oh my gosh, I'm killing my mother. She's gonna have a heart attack. My mother grabs her heart like she's about to drop dead. And all of a sudden I was like, holy smoke, this may not have been a good idea. And you can hear me in the background there going, Happy Mother's Day! My Mother's Day present was I flew April out here. April being here made the trip so much better. We had a blast. And, April and I got to film a video together, of course. It's the Mediterranean Mania video that I talked about earlier, and that was a lot of fun. And April was here for like 5 days, and we had the best time. I think that also helped my mom, too, because April eats a predominantly plant-based diet. She's not a vegan. She does a Mediterranean diet, but on the Mediterranean diet, there's so much plant-based stuff that's just what she eats, right? And she knows we love her very much. And we were like, Mom, you're 75. Like, I don't know how much time you have left, but the women in your family live at the 90, sometimes 100. We would like you to be around to 100. So that means, you're going to have to take care of yourself now to fix all that. So that was the story of my mom's trip. I did all this effort to try and make her life better. What happened? What did she do when she went home? Well, here's what happened. She continued to eat this way when she went home. And that was a month and a half ago. She left. And she still texts me every day to let me know she feels amazing. She's like, I pooped twice today. I'm like, well, that's great, Mom. I don't need you to share that with me, but okay. That she's still getting a lot of fiber and that she's had no pain from diverticulitis since whenever the last time she had that, which was before she came out here. So I don't know that we've cured anything, right? But she went to get her blood work this morning. She had all that drawn, and she's going to her doctor next Wednesday. So I have a feeling that he's going to see all these numbers and be like, wow, this is really good. You've lost some weight. Your numbers have come down. Like, keep staying off those potatoes, right? Because that's what he's going to say. And I told her to just shut up, just yes in the death, and be thankful. All right, guys, that's our video for today. Please, if you like this video, hit that like button. Show us some love. What's not to like? I cured my mother's diseases, and then I almost killed her. Please hit that subscribe button so you get notified every time we have a new video, usually every Monday. If there's baking with Tim, sprouting with Tim, fermenting with Tim, those will be on Saturdays. And please, leave a comment below. Have you had any experiences with your family? You know, I knew my mom would do the stuff that I said while she was here, but I was really apprehensive if she would continue it when she got home. And then I even thought, well, you know, if she doesn't, she'll have that pain again, and then she'll be like, okay, you know, that pain is a good reminder of what not to do. But, you know, she was a champ, and she really, took it to heart. I love you, Mom. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.